Welcome to another episode of Working Class. I'm Ryan Steiger, and I'm here with my friend Jefferson Fisher. And if you don't know him yet, you're missing out. He gives the most amazing advice. Honestly, it feels like I'm talking to a big brother when I look at you. The advice you give in your truck where you tell people, how to deal with difficult conversations, how to be more assertive, how to just deal with the power dynamics and the insecurities we deal with in human interactions. I don't think I've ever seen anyone just peer through that veil as easily as you do, Jefferson. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate you being here. And thanks for the kind words, man. It's been a big blessing.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And, one of the things that's so interesting about you is you're a trial lawyer. And I think people have a perception of what a trial lawyer is supposed to be. And the super nice, good intentioned guy who sits in a car and says, hey, let me tell you how to say I'm sorry to someone who matters. Yeah. That's not the perception people have when they think of a trial lawyer. So how do you explain this? How do you explain this to people? Yes, I'm a fierce advocate in court, but I'm also your friend.
Right. Well, my message is very different from other trial attorneys, particularly personal injury. So most times when you think personal injury, you think of all the billboards, the cheesy hammer, whatever it is. And they're all I'm going to fight for you, going to win. My message is very different. My message is never win an argument. Mm-hmm. And that's you only lose if you try to win an argument. You win contempt from the other person. You lose that relationship. You burn that bridge. What did you win? Congrats, you won the argument. Now what? Now you still got to talk to the person. What'd you do? What'd you win? So there's a different contrast in the message that I send to people, that you can be just as persuasive and assertive and firm and confident by bringing light and positivity rather than the negative. I think people, they respect this message more than the other. And this is one that will build people up rather than tear them down.
I love that. It definitely is resonating with people. I mean, I don't think anyone's climbed to 4 million followers quite as fast as you have, Jefferson. It's really incredible.
But I'm a little winded.
We're going to talk about that because I can't imagine what it's like to shoot up to those heights so quickly. But about your message, it's so opposite of what lawyers try to put out there. And in a lot of ways, it's opposite to what just we as Americans teach each other. I think as Americans, and particularly as litigators, we have this, you've got to be aggressive. You've got to win. You've got to compete. Right. You've got to be the best. You need to crush the competition. I mean, one would look at your videos and think, how is this resonating with everyone? This is the opposite of what we've been told our whole lives. So why do you think it's clicking so well?
There's a lot to be said in contrast. Mm-hmm. Contrast piques people's interest, their curiosity when they see something different than somebody going in the opposite direction of everybody else. That I think that tends to people go, "Where's this coming from? What do you know that I don't know?" So I think that gets more attention that way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think early on, I mean, you can count. There's countless books on how to win an argument, every argument, and that's just wrong. It's the wrong message. You don't win anything in an argument. That moment of pride you feel does not last long. In fact, the pain that you've caused, or the hurt that you've caused, or the embarrassment, or the further misunderstanding you've caused lasts far longer than any momentary win that you just got from shooting them a zinger, because it felt good in the moment.
Yeah, I think anyone who's been in a relationship probably gets what you're saying. Just real quick, there's a quick moment. Oh, you're just like your father. Feels good in the moment, but you said something really interesting in one of your videos I saw the other day. It was when things shouldn't be unsaid, I think was the gist of it. And one of your points was, if it's just for you. And that clicked with me so hard. It's like, if you're saying something just to satisfy your own ego, or just because you want to get that zinger in, or just because it would feel good in the moment, that's sometimes a sign that it's better left unsaid.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. There's always these moments that between friends and relationships and coworkers, whatever it is, you want to say something, and a lot of times you miss that filter of, am I saying it to make a point, or am I just saying it to be heard? Am I just saying it? Who is this for? Is it really for the other person, or is it just really for me?
How do you know the difference?
Your motive, your intent. Who do you feel like this is going to resonate with? I mean, there are plenty of times where you have that temptation, or you do say something because it hurts. It's not going to help. It doesn't help that other person. What's it do? It only makes you win. I mean, sometimes it's a race to the bottom. There's this concern anytime you're in a difficult conversation of, often whoever wins is the person who comes out the cleanest. Like, how much dirt did you throw on the other person? And it's really, it's much more biological than we think with your fight or flight. I mean, that's when you fight, it is with your fighting words. That's why people want to throw things, except they just throw words. They want it to hurt, or you want to flee. You want to leave the room. You say, I got to get out of here. There's a lot of biology in it too.
That's interesting you say that, because I think any of us who's been in a fight with someone, especially someone we care about, that's the irony. It's like the more you're invested in the other person, the more hurtful it can be sometimes. And that fight or flight does get triggered.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if this person matters to you, like, that's harder. The more connected you are to this person, the more they know about you, the more exposed your hurt centers are, the more they know where your triggers are. They know where your buttons are, where other people might not see them, have them covered up. They know. And so it's a lot of this message, Ryan, that's always resonated with me and that I like to talk about and encourage people. And I just started it one day and there it went.
Where did the motivation to start come from? Because here's what I see with you, Jefferson, and correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't really start the social media stuff until like 2022. I think that's around when I first caught you on my radar. But I don't think you were doing stuff before then.
No, I was doing nothing. No.
Well, dude, I'm glad you're doing it. You're the kind of person who should be sharing your thoughts with the world. When did you decide it was time? Why?
It didn't start that way, Ryan. It was just kind of got pulled that way. I started making social media videos at the beginning of 2022, really that end of January. I made my first one. You can still see it. It's still there. I mean, I only have like 300 videos posted. So just a few flicks of the thumb and you're there. And it was me just saying, hey, I'm starting a new law firm. I'm going to try social media. There's something about reels I have to learn. No idea what I'm doing. See y'all later. Like that was my first video.
Your first video is just, hey, I'm here. I exist. I have a law firm. See you later.
That's it. Well, yeah. And I just started the new law firm. So I had been in defense for, 8 years or so. And so I was starting off on my own, hanging out my own shingle, going to do personal injury law. And so that's what I was telling my friends.
Wow.
And and so the first few videos I made were just garbage. They were just for fun, just so I could learn how the app worked.
What is garbage?
Anybody following me?
What is garbage to you, Jefferson?
Popular at the time were these videos that you could kind of like overdub, act like you're saying words. That are real popular,
like lip syncing.
Yeah, like a like a trend of a music or something like that. And so I was trying that, or just different things. Yeah. And then I started kind of sharing my thoughts on like what happened in my day. And here's my lesson of what I learned. And I was only posting like once every 2 weeks. Like I never thought of this in a million years. Never thought this. And it wasn't until probably July of 22 that I had this big watershed moment of what am I doing? Like if because I kept trying to sell my law firm. I telling people, like, what's the most unoriginal personal injury video? 3 things to do after you've been on a car ride.
100%. I was going to guess. Right? We should do a guessing game.
Yeah. I mean, you knew it. I mean, it's just what. And so I paid a buddy of mine to try and film me TikTok style of what to do after an accident. It's still up just to remind myself how much I hated it. And I posted it. And you know how many people saw it?
How many?
0. Nobody saw this video. It just went nowhere.
A Jefferson Fisher video with no views.
Let me blow your mind. When I first started posting, a friend was like, you need to post on TikTok. So I started posting on TikTok, my garbage videos, again, just to see how the app worked. 0 views across the board. I had like 8 videos with 0 views. And I was Googling, why do my TikToks have 0 views? Why do my reels have 0 views? And I was Googling, how do you do reels?
Oh my God.
I just had no clue.
That is so funny.
Wow. It wasn't until after that video tanked, I was like, why did I pay for this? The videos that I just do randomly get more views than this. And so I decided then, like, nobody cares about selling my firm, me trying to say, hey, I'm a personal injury attorney, hire me. Why don't I just give value for free about what I like to talk about? What am I here for? What's my purpose in life? You know, what do I want to leave as my legacy? So I started really thinking about these big things, and I was looking for the right camera, the right lighting, the right mic, thinking I had to have like a studio. It had to be perfect.
Wow.
And I got so fed up with it. And I was like, screw it, forget it. I'm just going to go. I remember telling my wife, I was like, I'm going to my car. I'm shooting a video. And I just closed the door.
Oh my gosh.
And that's when I made my first How to Argue Like a Lawyer video. And then that just like spiked. And I remember asking a friend. Yeah, I asked a friend at the time who had like 100,000 followers on TikTok. I was like, what do I do? This video's got like 1,000 views. Oh my gosh, it's got 1,000 views. It's crazy.
Do I need an agent? What do I do?
I had no clue. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And then it just kept climbing. And then she's like, post another one. Okay. So the next week I did another. Next week I did another. Wow. By my 4th one, that one went up to like 4 million views, and which I thought was just unreal on TikTok. And then all of a sudden I had like triple the amount of followers my friend had. She was like, don't ask me for any advice ever again.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And then it just took off from there. And the more I did, it wasn't until like this time last year, Ryan, I had less than 300,000 followers this time last year. Less than 300,000. Yeah.
It's wild how quickly things blow up. I mean, because I don't know why. Maybe it's the persistency, because I watch all your videos. I think they're really helpful for reasons we'll get into. But I've just seen you as this celebrity status person. But it's funny to reflect and realize this is still a fairly new thing for you.
Extremely. Yeah, extremely. People think that I'm just a full-time creator. No, like this is the videos I make in my car are the smallest percentage of my day by far.
Oh yeah. Well, they are and they aren't, because you're taking all of this collective wisdom from your day and from all the days before that, and you're summarizing them to share with people. So, you know, the act of making the video is certainly very short, but I wouldn't want anyone to get the impression that what you do is easy. I mean,
no. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very difficult. I just mean, people think that I monetize my Instagram. I'm just a creator. This is all I do. All I do is social media. It's like, no,
it's funny.
All of those are negatives.
People say that about me sometimes. I get those comments and they'll be like, I would never hire a TikTok attorney, or, oh, hey, if you hired this guy, look what he does all day. It's like, come on, man, this takes 5 seconds. Give me a break.
That's just not in person. You know, I think there's a blessing in knowing who's not your client just as much as you know who is.
That is a really positive way of looking at it. That's something that I've started to see over the past few months, because you'll get people who are negative, and it's like, listen, I know I'm not perfect. I know that I can say things that not everyone's going to like, but at the end of the day, I'm not malicious. I'm just trying to help. and I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Oh,
help
yeah. I
in
mean,
my way. So when
for
you see
free.
someone attacking
Yeah.
what you're doing, it can feel
Yeah.
really hurtful because it's like I just opened up a part of me, my thoughts, and I put it on the
Yeah.
internet for everyone to see. And it seems sometimes the worst thing that can happen is people go, ew, I don't like that. You're lame.
Well, that's, yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, here, my thoughts on that are it's part of the game. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
to be in this space is to be subject to any of it, the good
Mhm.
and the bad. I I have always been in the position that, like, before I take on a client, it's
Mhm.
not they hire me, I take them on. So
Mhm.
it's a very direct mindset for me of this is what I'm choosing. And so I've told clients that I'm sorry, we don't align. I'm not going to be the best one for you. I can refer you to somebody, but it's just because our values don't match. So that to me has to be the immediate filter, because you and I both know that you have said yes to that client that you should not have said yes to, and your gut told you should not have said yes to, and turns out it was one of the worst experiences you've had, just professionally. So that's been a hard learned lesson.
I've learned that lesson a few times, and every time you learn it, you think, okay, this is the last time. I didn't listen to my gut. I'm going to listen next time. But it seems to be a mistake that you can't help but make every so often, especially as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Why is it that we ignore our gut feelings and say yes to things? Why do we keep making that mistake?
I could go into a lot into it, but on the surface,
We have time, man. Whatever you want to say.
It's a matter of boundary. It's the same reason why we're good at telling other people things, but not good at telling ourselves. We can instruct the other person to be here at 7:00 on Tuesday, but we can't tell ourselves to get out of bed at 5, to do that workout that you wanted. It's just that internal discipline of the boundary. Like how valuable is the promise that you make to yourself at the end of the day? So I know if I've promised myself that I'm not going to take on a client that doesn't match with my values, period. And if I've made that commitment, then that's the commitment I've made. I don't know why this comes to mind, but like my grandparents, my grandfather remarried before I was even born. So she's always been a grandmother to me. Excuse me. And every year, just as the two of them, they sign a contract every year.
They wait. They sign a contract with each other every year.
Relationship contract with each other.
I have to ask, your grandfather's an attorney, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this makes sense. Okay. So they make a contract every year. This is interesting.
It's done out of fun. It's done out of it's not.
It sounds kind of fun. My girlfriend's a lawyer, and I'm almost wondering if we should try this out sometime.
It's like, well, and the thing is, they every year they're like, all right, do you want to go another round? Like that's funny. And so every time they'll change up the terms of, okay, I want X amount of days with you to do this, or this is what I'm going to be doing. Like there is a set expectation of their.
It's boundaries. Like renewing your subscription. Would you like to renew your Jefferson subscription this year? What do we do? Well, I'm going to need date nights on Thursdays to make this work.
Yeah, and so they. I only say that to say it's just a matter of commitment and promise. What's the promise that you make, and sometimes for those who are married, you make that promise on your wedding day. You kind of get lost of it when you're 10 years down the road. Like what did I immediately promise to here? What do you do with your clients, or when you're there at the work? I mean, you have a contract with yourself of what are those set of promises that you make that enrich you and also protect you. Like boundaries enhance things. They make things better. Same way with a picture frame around a piece of art. They enhance the art. You focus on what's in it and exclude what's out of it. And if you don't, if you have no boundaries, it's easy to get lost in the chaos. It's easy to go anything goes. So framing boundaries help.
I think I mean, I'm just guessing. You probably know more than I do. You definitely know more than I do. I think a lot of people are afraid to set boundaries. I think particularly if they really love someone and that person's really dear to them, and perhaps they're scared of losing them, they don't want to push that person away. In relationships with unequal power dynamics, like between a child and a parent, or an employee and an employer, I think people are afraid to set a boundary because they're afraid that it's going to trigger an explosive reaction or create a wedge between them and that person. Is that something? I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me, when I was younger, I had a big problem setting boundaries, and it came from insecurity. I was scared that I would lose people if I was too firm in the boundaries. But you do a lot of educating on setting boundaries. Do you find that sometimes it's hard to just convince people that that setting boundaries is a safe thing to do?
I don't have a hard time convincing them it's a safe thing to do. I have a hard time convincing them to do it. That's a different. There's only so much that I can say or do. Some of that is on them, and eventually there's just a tipping point, or either it's too much, or it's time. But often I find that when you put up those boundaries, the people who love you will respect them. The people who do not will not. And it's also a way of sorting out the people who love you for you rather than what you give them. So often, people want this. They want access to you all the time for free, any moment.
Yes.
And as soon as you put up the boundary, they're going, wait. You mean I got to wait in line? I thought I'm VIP. Yeah, they want it at any time. They want access to you. I know you didn't answer my text in the first hour. Well, this is my time. I'm allowed an hour to myself to do whatever I want. So there's this, you find that the people who respect you and love you will understand what those boundaries make you a better person. And the people who love you for what you do for them will not appreciate those boundaries.
It seems that I mean, you're on just an absolute rocket ship. I mean, apparently you and The Rock hang out all the time now.
That's not true.
You guys, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Well, actually, before I go into that, it's so funny. The time The Rock commented on one of your videos.
Yeah.
This is a slight detour, but it's just such a funny story. Was that before you had blown up?
No, that was right at it. So about middle of February, close to this time last year, I was just regular Jefferson making my videos, totally happy with, 200,000 followers. I thought that was insane. I thought I would never get more. I never thought, Ryan, I'd have 1 million followers. Never.
Well, of course not. You had to have 4 million. I mean, 1 million, that's just.
Yeah, I know. I just saying that was never my intent. My intent has never been to grow followers.
I think it's clear that was never your intent. Not sorry to interrupt you, man, but I got to say, like, part of the reason it's so easy to root for you is it's very clear to anyone with any sense of emotional intelligence that you're just an authentic guy who is doing this because you feel it's your calling in the world. You're not doing it because you want book deals and brand deals and views and fame. You're doing it just because it's in you and you want to express it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much my I'll even use the word ministry. It's just something that I find that it costs nothing, and I do it because I believe that it's been a gift for me to give. Is
faith an important part of your mission, like with what you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not overt with any of it, but my messages are certainly rooted in it. I don't know how they couldn't be. That's how I was raised. And I don't think a message of positivity and light is just exclusive to, one single denomination or religion. I mean, I think it makes the world a better place. So yeah, that was never ever my intent. So this time last year, I didn't have that many, and then shortly after Valentine's Day, out of the blue, I had like 3 videos that I had posted 2 weeks prior just started going nuts. All started. I was used to getting maybe. I thought it was great when I got more than 2,000 views on a video. Wow. I thought it was so cool. And then every once in a while I get one that would do like 200,000. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Well, and then they started just blowing up. They started feeding off of each other and going into the millions. And then I was gaining, all of a sudden, all of my analytics went away. My analytics were just all showing 0.
You broke it.
And I was like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
For like 4 days. It was like, gave me nothing. And I was like, well, then this is just a mistake. Like whatever these videos, like somebody at Instagram, I'm thinking of that scene in a movie where like the security guard falls asleep and pours coffee on the keyboard. You know what I mean? Like that was what had come to mind for me. And then all of a sudden it appeared and I had shot. It was so out of proportion to my analytics. I was gaining over 100,000 followers a day.
Oh my God.
And so just imagine that, like the DMs, the notifications, like I just couldn't do anything. I felt like something was wrong. And so it was within that time that a whole bunch of celebrities, including The Rock, started following me. And so that was like just a real weird time through all of that. That was the first time. So I had hit 1 million followers and it just kept on going. It just kept on going.
But something was wrong. And I think what was wrong was that the world really needed your message and it wasn't there. And I think that's really cool that you equate it to like a ministry, because it is this new message you're spreading and there's no one like you doing it. And I think that's why it just resonated so hard. I think we all had this need inside of us, and you're speaking to a need that I think everyone carries with them somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the rarest thing for a lot of people to have a genuine, nice person just sit there and be like, hey, I see you. I know that you're having a hard time right now. Here's a tool you can use to help you get through your hard time.
Right.
And I don't want any money and I don't want you to watch this ad. I just want you to have a better day. Yeah.
If you sign up now to get 14% off discount code of my Amazon, whatever.
Yeah. For the record, I think you're entitled to, if you want to get sponsored by, Manscaped or Nike or something, no one's going to get your bag, King. It's fine. No one's going to be upset with you.
Exactly. Yeah. It'll come. It'll happen.
It'll come. But what did The Rock say to you?
So he's commented a few times.
Oh, really?
The one most recently was one where I didn't like the video. Every once in a while, I'm tired. I don't really feel like one, but I know I have something that will help somebody. So I just make myself do it. And I always try to think of like one person that I'm talking to.
You imagine a specific
one person.
So instead of, I'm on my camera and I'm going to talk to 4 million people, you're imagining that there is a specific person with a specific problem sitting in the passenger seat of your truck.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody that I am looking at in that moment and giving them advice, just short and simple as possible. The problem is not coming up with topics. The difficulty is shortening it.
Yeah.
It's very easy to talk a long time. It's very hard to distill it into a 45-second clip. That's much more difficult. And so I try and just think of one person. And so I made that video and I posted it and I thought, I've posted it. It's out. Cool. Check the box. It's good. It'll help them. Great. And then all of a sudden I get a ding. I look and within like a minute, it's The Rock, like giving me 2 pounds and a whiskey sandwich. It's like, amen, brother. And he said something else, but it's just like, you just go, I don't know. Social media is crazy. I don't know.
Did that change your it's so funny. That speaks to a basic human insecurity, which is we make something and we can be so critical of it because you didn't even like that video.
I didn't.
But then to have someone who arguably is one of the most like positive, inspiring people out there to say, hey, I really liked this video.
Right.
Did that change your feeling about your video?
No.
Did you think, oh, maybe I'm wrong? Maybe it's a better video than I thought?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, I think it's the view of the creators is different. You know, I know that I'll make a video and I love it. I'm like, oh, I think this is such a good message. And it doesn't do nearly as well. And if it's something that like, hey, look, I didn't concentrate on perfect words. I'm just going to do this. And it's those videos that do well. So it's kind of this weird.
The irony.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost really like when you let go, things work out.
But if any time that I really like a video, I'm not going to say it tanks. Tank is relative. It does not do as well versus the ones where I just go, you know what? I'm just going to post this. Who cares? I'm just going to post it. Those are the ones that always do well.
I think you've got this really interesting machine now where you manage your own Instagram. Do you look at your comments?
Yeah. It's all me. I don't have a team.
That's awesome. Don't get a team, dude. What you're doing is so perfect. I feel like you would get.
Let me clarify. I do have somebody who helps like with my emails, like the copy and writing all of my emails. That I could not operate without it. That wouldn't exist without somebody else.
Oh,
but
naturally,
content.
Naturally.
You know, the videos, social media. That's all me.
As it should be. I think a lot of people lose their way when they start hiring like writers and editors and stuff. It's got to come from you. But
I agree. I think that has to do a lot with why it's climbed so quickly. It's because people feel like, oh, well, I've reached a certain level. I'll just stand back and I don't really have to produce anything original. People, they'll repost a meme from somebody. They'll maybe make some little short video, but it's promoting something that they have. Yeah, that makes a big difference. I think.
Here's a thought experiment for you, man. Let's say something weird happens. The energy of the world shifts, and just for whatever reason, people still like you, but a lot of people don't anymore. And you wake up and you've got something horrible. 300,000 followers on Instagram now. We don't know why.
All of a
just
sudden,
3.7 million people decided, you know what, I've had enough of this and I'm gone. Would you change anything?
No. No. I'm somebody that I do this. I know it's not the best, but I know that I do it. And if I get a compliment, I'll say the reverse almost in my head.
Really?
Just because it keeps me, like, you can never get the big head. But as soon as you start believing the hype, I feel like you've lost the hype. Like, as soon as you start drinking your own Kool-Aid, oh yeah, I am awesome. Oh yeah.
So if I sit here and say, Jefferson, you've got a really nice jawline in your head.
Right, I'd be like, no, I could really work on it. I naturally say the reverse in my head. That kind of just goes whoop, like it balances it out. So I have a text group between like two of my best friends since I was a kid. And anytime I get good news, something great happens, social media, it is their job is to bust me. Like, and so whatever it is,
that's so funny.
They'll, nice shirt. You know what I mean? Like, where were you going? Were you going to your grandmother's? Like just something so basic that I was like, oh yeah, I should have. It's just good. It's healthy. So I make sure I manage it that way. And I always tell my wife that it could all go away. Instagram isn't mine. Facebook isn't mine. These platforms have allowed me to grow and nothing in my life has really much changed other than the digit that's on it. It's just, these people exist in my phone. So if it all goes away, I'm still doing the same old thing.
Well, it's still you.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's you, and no one can take that away.
Right.
How does the family feel about this? I mean, I know you're married. I know you have kids that are pretty young. They probably don't. How old are your kids?
4 and 6.
So there's no way they have any conception of what's going on here. They're
0.
probably a little too
Take
young
care
for
of
that.
us. No idea.
Right.
They know that every once in a while Dad talks to his phone, but that's really it.
That's funny. Do you ever catch them mimicking? Oh, sorry, man.
One time no, you're good. One time I took them to a speaking engagement in Boston, but they didn't know anything about social media. They just knew that anytime they ask what I do, I just say I help people. That's it. So Daddy helps people. And they go, oh, okay.
I like that. I like that you don't tell them what you are. You don't say, oh, I'm a lawyer. Oh, yeah. Daddy's a trial lawyer. Oh, Daddy's an influencer. Oh, Daddy does this. You tell them. It's almost like you're telling them your why.
Exactly.
Because that gives the kid the freedom to say, okay, I really admire Dad. Dad is cool. I want to be like Dad. And instead of them getting this line in their head, like, oh, I guess I have to be a lawyer or I have to be an influencer. Yeah. It's almost like you're instilling in them a value. Like the only thing that matters to Dad is helping people. And that's the purpose that you're going to fulfill. And that leaves the door open. They could be nurses, firefighters, doctors. They could do anything.
That's exactly right. So I tell them the end result. I make people feel better about themselves.
Are you
okay?
I mean, at 6 years old, I think you can start seeing them develop a set of core values. How is it as a dad trying to put those values in a developing person? I don't have kids yet. To me, it seems like it would be one of the most challenging parts of being a parent is trying to make sure that your kid grows up with the right values.
Oh yeah. To be a parent is scary because, you always have this feeling over you that anything you do could really either make or break their trajectory. And there's just a lot of responsibility that comes to that. I'll say let me rephrase it. It's easy to be a bad parent. It's difficult to be a good parent. And it is, it can be terrifying in some sense because you also see your kids have certain characteristics and traits of you that, they may have trouble with because you had trouble with it. And so and they teach you a lot about yourself. Like it's
really?
It's wild. Well, like for me, it taught me a lot of, I know the concept of inner child is, some people believe it, some people don't. Whether you do or don't, when I see my son get frustrated, I go, man, that's just like me. Like, man, that looks just like me getting frustrated. But I say, he can cry. He can throw a fit. I want to in my head, but I can't. There's that, we're adults now. You can't, it's not socially acceptable to throw a fit.
You can't lose it in front of the kids. I mean, look, but for whatever it's worth, man, person to person, you're a human being. And if you have a moment of weakness and you cry in front of them or something, they're going to be okay.
No, I'm not saying,
they're going to remember it, but you don't have to be Superman.
I just want to say that to illustrate, there's this moment sometimes where I see him get upset.
Yeah.
And I go, man, I sometimes feel that same way. Maybe I'm at work and I can't outwardly I can't flip the desk. I can't, even though you have that same instinct. But no, I have no problem with crying. I encourage, it's different. I think our generation is doing a lot of good compared to what we grew up in and what our parents grew up in and their parents. So I'm all about, my son is very sensitive. He's the tender heart. He's the oldest one. And my daughter is the one who's 4 is tough as nails.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's scared of nothing. He is tender at everything. So he wears his feelings really big. So if he feels at all, like if he's sad, he will say out loud, I'm sad, and he'll cry, but he'll tell you exactly what his feeling is. I'm mad. I'm nervous. He is awesome with that kind of stuff. but yeah, I mean, I'm there to be a safe space for it. So when you ask, how is it trying to instill those values in a kid? You just do it. You figure out a way that you realize what you needed at that time, and then you be that for them.
That's a really good way of looking at it, because I'm going to be real with you, man. I felt a little tug when you said that you try to be a safe space for your son when he's having a tough time emotionally. Yeah. And I know I'm not alone. There's a lot of us out there who did not have that as kids, which is scary, because when you're a kid, you're literally the smallest and most vulnerable you're going to be. Your brain isn't totally developed yet, so you haven't even had the advantage of some coping mechanisms to help reason your way out of feelings. And then to go to a place where it's supposed to be your safe place and it's not, you can end up like me and you spend a bunch of money on therapy. It has long-term consequences for a person.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah. There's, where I might have grown up in a, hey, suck it up. Hey, you need to toughen up, dry it up right now. Versus what I try to do with my son is get it all out. What are we feeling? Where's this coming from? I really try to be curious. And once he does a really good job, just a beautiful job of using his words to try and describe how he feels. Or sometimes he'll say like, I don't know the words. I'm like, hey, that's okay. You don't need to.
I feel like that develops that develops some emotional intelligence. That's so much better than, hey, suck it up, be tough. Because what does be tough mean? When you tell a kid, hey, suck it up, be tough, what do they do with that information? You're telling them to put on a mask, but it sounds like what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I see you, which is probably the most important person a kid needs at that time. I see you. I see that you're in pain. Right, I'm here. Right. But can you tell me why? What is happening? And I like that, because then the kid has an opportunity to sort through those emotions and communicate them to you, which is probably one of the most important skills you can develop early on.
Oh, no doubt. To be able to, particularly, I'll say within like my particular skill set, is I can pretty quickly not judge, but I can read a room. I can tell if just by sensing people. I'm the same way as my son. I was just like that.
Really?
Very, very sensitive to emotions. Like I'm one of these people that I'm a terrible movie watcher, right? I'm terrible because even though I'm good with conflict, I can't stand like awkward conflict in a movie, awkward times in a movie, embarrassing moments in a movie where somebody's fighting in a movie. Not like action movies. I'm
not like John Wick. We're talking more like a drama. Like relationship-based conflict.
There's always in any story, the protagonist goes through the conflict and then solves it. It makes me so uncomfortable, and because I get very like third person. You
empathize. You feel
badly. So I feel it. If they're embarrassed, I feel so embarrassed. And so my son is just that same way. And I didn't realize it until we were watching a movie. And anytime that there is any kind of something, he'll cover his ears. Like that was his little bit of conflict or anything. It's like, and I'd feel it watching it with him. All of a sudden I'm looking and he's covering his ears like he can't take it either. And so it's just funny to see that. But what I know is now that I'm on the other side of it, it's a skill that's only going to prove to be very, beneficial for him down the road. So I can only, like, my job is to make him better than I am, or, same for my daughter. And one thing that I always try and do particularly with kids, the advice that I give, because I heard this once you have kids, you now only live as their memory. Like your purpose is now to be their memory, good, bad, whatever it is. That's who you are to them now. So it's a very humbling concept to me.
That's really interesting. as you say that, it's funny. So as the grown up, you're sitting there and you're just doing your daily life. Like, okay, you know, I pack their lunch, get them in the car, put their shoes on, take them to school, bye. And it just feels like routine for you as an adult because you got a million things going on. But for a kid, that's going to be something they reflect on for years. I mean, just as a 34-year-old adult now, I look back and I just remember my dad taking me to an ice rink and getting me a Little Caesars pizza and a Sprite.
Oh, yeah.
I still remember that. It was decades ago. And I don't know what my dad had going on. I know he was getting divorced and he was probably having a rough time.
Sure.
I don't know what demons he was struggling with at the time, but I remember my dad taking me to an ice rink, going ice skating, getting me a pizza and a Sprite. And even today, as an adult, when I smell the rubber of the pads around an ice rink, or when I see a Little Caesars pizza, a tiny little spark of happiness comes up in me. Even Sprite. I know it's terrible, but every once in a while I'll sneak a sip, and I'll be taken back there. And as imperfect as my dad was at times, that was a gift he gave me. That little spark. It sounds like, I mean, is that what you mean when you say you're their memory, or is it something else?
Both. I mean, I just, they will be your legacy, and one day they'll continue or you will not. And at that point, everything you are to them will be what you are right now. And so there is a big memory of emphasis on what I say now, what I do now, how I treat them now will be what they remember later. I think that's a very hard concept to kind of wrap your head around. So it's kind of like, you know, how people will say, oh, whatever house you live in now, somebody else will live in, and whatever possession you have, it'll be in an antique shop one day. Like there's same thing when you go now. It was all owned by somebody, you know, something you slaved over, something you saved for is now just going to be in the garbage bin, you know, later on down the road. So what really matters, and that's the best thing I can do, is invest in my legacy. And part of that is how I talk to everybody. That's why I take the social media video so personally, is because it is in many sense my legacy. If I were to be gone tomorrow, you know, I would want something. My kids have something to look back on and see, and I can give them advice.
Wow.
You know,
what a gift you gave your kids. This is just clicking for me now that if you're ever gone or incapacitated, you know, they can still sit and almost have a conversation with their dad. They can scroll through your social media and say, "Dad, I have a bully at school and I need to be more assertive. How can I be more assertive?" You have the answer to that waiting for them in a library.
Yeah.
That is
blow your mind even more.
I think every parent should do this. This is freaking sick. I didn't think of it that way. That is so sick.
So, I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm writing the book. That's why I said yes to the book. Is this is for my kids. You know, this is a manual of my advice to them. Same reason why right now I'm trying to work on behind the scenes an AI of all of my advice and videos and everything, to where, I mean, eventually I think it'll be more popular for sure in time. But imagine if AI had already existed and you could just like talk to the AI of like your great grandfather. You know what I mean?
It's awesome. Personally, I'm one of those people who, don't tell Bob this, I'm one of those people who's very suspicious of AI. I sometimes I wonder how, because it's not you, it's like a mirror image of you. It's a reflection. It's a shadow. Yeah. So sometimes I wonder, like, over time, is that AI just its own personality will manifest just using you as a mask? How much of it is really you?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a big AI person. I mean, I'm from Southeast Texas. Nothing's AI here. Nothing's even electric here. Well,
you grew up in.
If you see one Tesla, it's like in the news. So.
Yeah, you grew up in a. I don't want to say slower pace community, because that's almost insulting. But
no, it's not. It is a slow.
Is that what you would say?
Oh yeah, like, I love getting on the highway and nobody's around.
More present. That's what I mean to say.
Yeah.
Like a community that's more present.
Oh, it's slower here, intentionally slower. Yeah, it's wonderful. But yeah, so to go back real quick, so it's to create a way for people to access my advice, like when they need it, so they could ask, "Hey, Jefferson, how do I handle somebody who's an interruption?" And this Jefferson texts them, the three steps real quick. So, yeah,
that's really cool.
What we were talking about, I have the videos are very much, I use the legacy word because they'll always be there and my kids can use them when they get old.
I love that, man. I think that's really cool. I want to talk about your hometown a little bit because I'm still amazed that you have this big soft side to you. I think you were saying like you have trouble getting through movies. A quick story about me. You know the movie Inside Out? It's like a Pixar movie, and it's about a little girl's growing up and her emotions aren't. There's like anger and joy. You know that movie?
Yeah.
I can't get more than 7 minutes.
Oh, dude.
I've tried a couple times. The scene where she's playing hockey with her parents and like the little piano's playing, I just bawl. I bawl so hard. I couldn't breathe. And we've tried a few times. I tell my girlfriend, like, I cannot turn off. And she's like, it's such a sweet movie. You're going to love it. It's like, you don't understand. Like my heart is exploding. I cannot watch this movie.
Oh yeah. No. There's definitely certain, lots of Disney movies that I will skip over certain parts for sure. No, Inside Out's definitely one of them. Immediate Waterworks.
I can't do it.
If you ever decide that you want to have kids, just wait, because then you get dad feels, in which are even makes you more sensitive, particularly if you have a girl. Like you'll see your daughter just look at her, and then you'll just start crying. It just happens.
Just because she's so cute and adorable, and you just love her so much.
There's nothing more perfect to you. Like you think you're like, okay, wife, thank you. Enjoyed it. Daughter. I'm kidding. It's just that the daughter knows that you are completely wrapped. She knows. She knows.
You've got a huge heart and you wear it on your sleeve. I mean, you can see your emotions on your face even. And candidly, I was the same way growing up. I was a really sensitive kid. Really sensitive. And unfortunately, I got hey, toughen up. You're being weak. You're being embarrassing.
Same.
Got bullied a little bit. I was going to ask, in your community, I mean, were you always that sensitive little boy growing up? And did it affect the way people treated you growing up?
I was very blessed in the sense that I don't know how else to word this, Ryan, but
it's a safe space, bro.
I just never had people who disliked me. Anywhere, didn't matter. I was able to be friends with anybody. Mm-hmm. I had like 2 best friends, but in terms of like a clique, I was just cool with all of them. I was good with the popular athletics. I was good with the nerds. I was good with the emo,
if you're good with the goth kids, that's the toughest crowd, please. That's a tough crowd.
Oh yeah, it was. But I was just the nice guy. And so I never dealt really with adversity in terms of bullying. I never had that. I've stopped bullies. I've done that a lot, but I just never really had that. So even in this small town, I think what it did early on was teach me that we were not all the same. I had friends that, kids that lived with their grandparents because their parents were in jail. I had friends that their dad was an alcoholic. And even though I didn't know what that meant, I meant that sometimes he needed to come over to our house. So like, there's just different, I learned early on that you could see somebody in class and the person you see is not the person that you're talking to. It's the reason they're falling asleep was because I knew that they were they were crashing from couch to couch because their parents are on, not in a good place.
It's not a stable house. So you were learning early on
so you
that
just learned
everyone's different.
You learned I learned early on that I was very blessed with wonderful parents. And I learned very on that we were not all given the same path. But sometimes it was much harder for other people. And so that made a big impact on empathy, like developing that early on. In terms of just being the oldest. So I was the oldest of four. So I've always been this kind of old soul mentality. I just naturally an old soul about just about everything. So
you're the oldest of four.
Mm-hmm.
It's so your son is the emotional one with the big heart.
Yeah.
Your daughter, you said, is a little bit more stoic, I guess.
She's
more
tough. She's tough.
A little more. It's funny because one could argue that expressing your emotions is an act of toughness, but we'll say that traditional vision of toughness is in your daughter. Are your siblings the same way? Are you kind of like the big hearted, I don't know, softy, and then the siblings are a little tougher, or how's that dynamic?
No, it's I was pretty much the dad of my siblings. Like I raised my siblings, and I mean that. My dad's a wonderful dad, but I mean, you get it. My dad worked 6 days a week from 7 to 7. Typically.
It's not that he's a bad dad. He was just doing what he had to do.
Yeah,
but unfortunately, that creates a vacuum somewhere. You can't.
Yeah. So I mean, my brothers and sister will tell you that I was in many ways more of a dad than our own dad, and so I just took on a lot of responsibility very young. Wow. And I love my siblings. I love every one of them. We have a great relationship. I love being the big brother. Mm-hmm. They're all very different. I would say I'm the toughest probably out of them.
Really?
Yeah, because I wasn't soft. I was also very firm, like very direct. But that was just an innate sense of confidence from a very young age. My sister's different than I am, very sweet. My brother is maybe a little bit more nerdy. My youngest brother is much more quiet and reserved. So they're all different. They're all wonderful, and they're all gifted. So they're great.
That's fantastic. Do they live in Texas too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great. Do they have kids too?
Yeah. So, except my youngest brother, there's 11 years difference between me.
Oh, hey, that's the difference between me and Drew on the show here. Me cool. And my bro. Yeah. About a little less than 11 years, but about 11 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and we're still close. So I still made it a priority to spend time with them and make sure they're a part of my life.
That's great, man. I love that you have that family and you have the opportunity to step into this leadership role. Frankly, it seems like you were born to be the advice giver. That's just been your calling since day one, bro. Yeah,
that might be true. I've just kind of fallen into this, Ryan. I never in a million years thought that this is where it would be. And this time last year, my mind was just blown up. My whole life was turned upside down with all of the social media growth and the different requests and the different everything. So I'm much more comfortable with it now than I was a year ago. So
you're handling it awesome. As I sit here today, like seriously, one would have no idea. I think just how massive your brand value has gone. And I call it brand value loosely. I know you're just a guy who's expressing himself, but it's created this brand.
It is a brand. No, I am very, I majored in marketing. I'm very aware of the value of your brand and how precious that is. It's just, mine's a personal brand.
It really is. Has this over the past year, this is going to get real, I think, has it tested any relationships in your life?
No, it hasn't tested them. It's made things more difficult because, with working on a book, if I need to maybe do some little story or video, my wife picks up the slack and is able to help with the kids. So she's got a full-time job too.
Mm-hmm. What does she do?
She's an attorney.
There's way too many of us crawling around.
There's a lot of us, man. There's a lot.
Hey, you're right. No, it's funny. Good. Oh, what kind of law does she do?
She does education law, so she represents school districts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Quite
So
an
she
niche
does
role.
like special. She helps with like special education. She helps school boards. She's great at what she does.
Did you all meet in law school?
Met in high school.
Oh, is this a high school sweetheart thing?
We went to different high schools, but yeah.
Do you remember how you met?
Yeah, don't remember. Yeah. It was a buddy of mine. I had saw her at a basketball game. So our schools were all small enough that you played all sports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody played. If you were in
oh,
the
really?
band,
So
you were
even if you're just no good at basketball, it's like, hey, man, you're on the
Everybody
team. We need five. So.
Yeah, everybody played, or you just played all sports. You did volleyball, basketball, softball. Everybody played.
Wow.
And so he had seen her at a basketball game and wanted when he was playing the other team. So he wanted a friend to connect them, and they did. And so one night we were at a little Mexican restaurant called Casa Olé here in Texas. And we went, and I was like his wingman.
Really?
And he locked up and didn't say hi to her, but I did. And that was kind of, and then I saw her like the next weekend at a extracurricular event.
Wow.
And so that's how but he wasn't even going to, like, she was in a different league than both of us. So it wasn't even, he had moved on to somebody else, but
you had the guts to speak. So it sounds like you're saying, no disrespect to you, it sounds like you're saying she's way out of your league, but you just had the audacity to speak up and say, hi.
Yeah.
And that opened up the doors. There's a life lesson in there somewhere.
Yeah, you got it. I just said hi. That was it. So it was cool. It was good. But that was in small towns here. You kind of know everybody. Like, so who's the most athletic from a particular school or the most popular from a different school. Like you know the other students around you, even if you haven't met them.
Oh, you have a true community in that.
Yeah. It's just slow here. It's awesome.
Well, it's awesome that, you got to grow up together. Yeah, she saw you in high school. She saw you as a new dad. She sees you as the great and powerful Jefferson Fisher, and you've watched her grow too. That's a gift.
Oh yeah. Growing together is, it's good and it's bad. There's pros and cons to it.
It seems like it would all be good. What's the bad?
Well, just that you have to see the bad sometimes.
You see the growing pain, the struggle.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like everybody goes through different seasons. So if I were to meet her now, it may not be the right time. I just, you never know. I'm not one of these that believes just there's this one person. It's just, if this is going to work, is this who I want to be with? Yeah. And so you just never know. You could meet somebody at a different stage of their life and they're not ready, even though at a prior time they might have been, or later time they will be. Yeah.
Or they're in the right stage, but you're not. It's that version of you. And is that version of you ready for that version of them? And it's almost like when Harry met Sally, like there's this undulation of development over time, and we're waiting for that little connection.
Exactly.
Right there.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by, it's not, I don't mean the term bad. It's just that there are times that are more rough, because even especially young, you don't really know who you are or what you want.
No, you don't. And it's tough when you're young too, because you get so many voices from many directions telling you what you ought to want and what you should want, what you should be and what you should do. Personally, that's what guided me for a lot of my 20s. I just wanted to do the right thing. I just wanted to do what I was supposed to do. And the problem was I listened to so many different opinions about that, and it turned out to be a mess, because no one agrees on what you should do or what a good person should be. I mean, we can agree on a couple of things, but the details.
You gotta have the core. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of different advice going around, and I'm sure I'm a product of that right now, as somebody who gives advice on social media. but it's been quite the journey. So
well, where does the man who gives such good advice get his advice?
You're looking at it, man, right here in the old dome. I just think I honestly just think of a topic, and then I go in my car and I think 3 points I don't want to say, and then I give them.
I love it.
There's not like a book that I get it from or some blog or another creator. I mean, I think that's why I don't think anybody is giving the advice that I'm giving out there. And it's just because I think it's
there's copycats. It's so funny. I've come across people and thought, oh, cool. Here's someone like Jefferson, and then I go, wait a minute, that script sounds familiar. And sure enough, I do a couple scrolls, and I'm like, that son of a gun! Look what they just copied a script.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, there's this guy who's over in like I don't know, maybe in the UK or something, and his stuff is like verbatim mine. The 3 points, the topics, the script, the follow me, everything's the same.
How do you cope with that? I mean, are you going to war with this guy, or what is your perspective?
My perspective is if the message is getting out, that's all that matters. Who says that I have to be the messenger? Like that's
and we all know who's the original Dr. Pepper and who's Mr. Spice. You know?
Yeah. So I have a mentality. This really comes from my dad, and that's just let them. You know, if am I doing it for me, or am I doing it for the message? And if I do it for the message, then who do I care how it's delivered or who delivers it? I think it's as soon as you become selfish and prideful of no, I have to be the messenger of it. I think that's you're going down from
that ego, that's
your message to have
possession.
Just let it.
You know, it's not the Jedi way.
Yeah, that's true. I've had a few Facebook accounts that people just these fake accounts. They'll copy my stuff. I don't mind it if there's a creator who's trying to go off my script and make their own video. It's like, go for it. But the thing is, it's not authentic to you, and people will know.
That's the thing. You can sense it. It does not feel as authentic.
Like,
you can tell.
Get it. Yeah, I get it. I understand. But just come up with your own thing, and you'll do better. But it's the fake profiles where they create a fake me with my picture and they do all my videos. And then when they start getting up, like I've seen accounts get up into the hundreds of thousands on Facebook that use my video.
Alarming. And it's your face and they use your name
and that's what I don't like, because they're trying to actually take advantage of people. They'll text them, say, I'm writing a book. Will you send me some, I'm trying to fundraise. People tell me they've given money to some of these people. So that I don't like, because that's taking advantage of people I care about. That's
rough, man. I'm sorry you have to go through that. I had, I'm way smaller than you, but I had someone who thought they were communicating with me on Facebook, and their husband had sent what they thought was a retainer to that guy. Which is heartbreaking. I mean, part of it's like, dude, there's only so much I can do. I'll try to shout out like, hey, fake accounts. But if you think you're talking to an attorney and they're texting you on WhatsApp and they want you to Venmo a guy who's clearly in the Philippines, like some bro, I come on, some red flags. You gotta help me, dude.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do. What's wild is I'll get calls all the time from people who are just asking to speak with me. Like their life is in the balance, and if only they can talk to me, or people faking a case so that they can talk to me. It's wild.
How do you handle that? So many people, because look, dude, I'm actually coming to you for advice now. I mean, I'm like 1.8 on TikTok and then 300 something on Instagram. Well, yeah, but the point is it's a question of scale, and I'm the workers' rights guy. So I get hundreds of people every day saying, I'm about to lose my job. I'm scared. I don't know where else to turn. No one's listening to me. Help me, help me, help me. And the truth is I can't.
No.
I can't, and I've had people get very angry with me, very angry with me. I can't answer every unsolicited email and text and DM that comes my way. And that's got to be cranked up by a factor of over 100 times on your level. I can't imagine the scale of just people reaching out to you for help.
Yeah.
How do you deal with so many people asking you for help? And I almost feel like I'm tugging away from someone on the street who's asking me for change. I feel terrible. It feels like, I don't know. For me, there's a guilt. Like, these people are calling for help, and it's not that you're ignoring them. It's that it's simply not possible.
Oh, you are ignoring them. I mean,
there we go.
Actually, that's what you're doing. Yeah. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I can't, I mean, the amount of DMs I get, messages and emails there's no possible way anybody could catch up with that. I have to put myself in a spot of, what's the purpose? And my purpose is to provide good, solid advice, value, content for free. I can't. Somebody who sends me a page-long, detailed, horrible argument that they've had with some narcissistic ex, and they feel so belittled. What do they do? There's no way to help that. The answer is to continue doing exactly what you're doing. That's the answer, in my view. It's just the best I can do is continue to put out good quality content and be a place of inspiration and be a place of safety for you if you need other advice. But I can't take that on. Tons of people want one-on-ones from me, have offered silly amounts of money for me to go, coach them one-on-one. I can't do that. Not right now. I mean, with my law firm, no.
That's what people forget about you is you're a whole business owner. You have employees. You have a lot of people counting on you outside of this sliver of the internet.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that's how when we first started this discussion of this sliver of the internet is really a sliver. Like it's most of the time it's the office managing people and having my own cases, and so it's difficult. And you see, I don't push anything about personal injury. I handle personal injury cases, but I don't push them. If I did, I wouldn't be able to handle it. If I pushed it out right now and I said, look, I'm a personal injury attorney, and if you know anybody who needs a personal injury attorney, I'm going to ask that you think of me and get me in touch with them. I couldn't handle it. There's no possible way I'd be able to.
The irony that's how it started in the very beginning. Yeah. And now you're almost like, well, I can't put that message out there. It would blow up the phone. It would cause more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. I know you're a trial attorney.
Yeah.
I know you're probably a really good one. I know that you do PI, but you don't put any of that on your social media. I love that you've created this outlet for yourself where, frankly, if you were not an attorney, it almost seems like you would be a pastor or some kind of counselor or community leader. I don't know if you've thought about what you do.
Yeah, I don't. I think that's, again, goes to some of this kind of intrigue that people have about me, because I don't really put my personal life out there either. But yeah, I mean, to me, I still get calls and I don't say anything about, I'll make any video about really what I do.
That's funny. I wonder how many people don't know you're an attorney. Of the millions, there's certainly a huge sliver who think you're a psychologist or something.
Oh, I'm sure
they don't even know you're a lawyer.
Sure. Oh yeah, I'm sure, and I'm good with that. Wow. I mean, my firm, we've got a good solid number of cases. I'd be totally overloaded if I had more. I don't know. The thing is, I even stopped posting so much on TikTok. Excuse me. I mean, I don't really enjoy TikTok as a creator platform.
I don't either.
I can't engage with people.
Why don't you like TikTok? Because that's by far where I'm biggest. It's where I got my start. But I kind of post there just out of, hey, I don't want to abandon that community. Yeah. Like, those are the people who started with me, and I kind of owe it to them to keep doing something. But I really don't like TikTok anymore. What changed for you?
Yeah, I'm okay with, like, as a consumer, just scrolling through, but I don't like it as a creator because I just slowly stopped putting videos up there because I didn't enjoy it. Number one is you can't see who follows you.
Yeah.
Like there's really no way for you to know. In terms of the notification settings are terrible. Like you can't filter out. I have no clue who follows me.
It's harder to get to know your community there.
Exactly. Because I think it's intentionally that way. Like you can't put a link on a story. You want to put a link on a story?
Yeah.
No, because they don't want anybody to leave TikTok. Yeah. They don't want anybody to leave TikTok. And so they want people to create, but they don't want people to have. And so it's like, it's very difficult to, that's why you see a lot of people who will have like huge followings. They'll have, 8 million on TikTok, but they can't get more than 300,000 on Instagram or something, because it's much easier just to click follow, but not have a community. Like how many times on TikTok did you follow somebody and then never see them again?
Isn't that funny? I've joked with some other friends of mine, and I said, hey, if you want to make sure you never see an account again, be sure to follow them.
Exactly.
On TikTok. It's so weird. And it's funny. That's exactly what happened to me, by the way. You're extremely astute in your observation. I'm at 1.8 on TikTok, 300K on Instagram, but I feel closer to my Instagram.
I was, yeah.
No. It's fine. It's I have a certain mission that I'm chasing, and I'm good. Yeah. The numbers are just they're whatever. But it's I feel so much more connected to my Instagram community. There's something about the interface. Like I can get to know faces and usernames a little better. You can say more in the comments. I can post pictures. I can post story updates. I can keep people in the know. TikTok, I can't really.
You can't pull them away.
And it sucks because it's like those are the people who got me started in the beginning when no one knew me, but I can't engage with them the way I can on Instagram.
Absolutely. It just got to where I didn't like that I couldn't build any kind of community. If you can't put a link on a story to go do something, then, or what would bother me is, all right, I think I have like, I couldn't tell you. I think I have over 1 million. And it's like, if I post a video, and then maybe a video just gets like 8,000 views. And I'm like, I have 1 million followers.
I have the same problem.
1,000 views. You're not showing this to my followers. Like that's not
same issue. All right. I'm glad it's not just me. Thanks for sharing, man. But I don't mean to change gears so fast.
Like Instagram, I definitely have like a consistent amount that I know will generally see what I put up in a story or a reel or whatever. And TikTok is just all over the place. Cause that's why I think, I honestly think it is very consumer friendly. It is not creator friendly in my view. I agree, think Instagram followers are worth more than TikTok.
That's what I tell people, just for the community aspect of it. And man, didn't mean to talk over you. Just I want to respect your time, and we're going to come up here. So I did want to make sure that before we ended the episode, there's just two really big things I wanted to get from you. The first is you have a book coming out. And I want to make sure everyone knows about your book coming out and what it's going to be about. So last I heard, I thought it was going to be I Beg to Differ, but that's not your title anymore. Or what's going on with this thing?
Yeah. So what happens for anybody who's ever wanting to, and I think you said you're doing one too.
I'm way earlier in the process. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway,
yours is coming out much sooner than mine is.
Well, okay. Mine's not coming out till next year, beginning of next year. So
maybe I will beat you. I don't know. But either way, this is your episode. What's the book about, man?
Oh no. So the title's up in the air, but right now they have it as predicting positive. It's just how to build positive communications with people, how to speak assertively. And so I break it up into elements of saying it with control, saying it with confidence, and saying it with certainty. So these aspects that are going to lead to more positive results in conversations. My manuscript is due at the end of March, and that's with Penguin Random House.
That's coming up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's coming up fast. Okay.
Yeah. You only got to tell me. And So then I got about 3 more months of editing with their in-house editors. And then by fall, we'll be looking at gearing everything up for pre-sale. And I think the current pub date is like April of next year. But
wow,
it's cool. They want it to be their like premiere book for 2025. So I'm excited.
That's incredible, man. And who is this book for?
This book is for the shift nurse, at the local hospital, at the ER. It's for the teacher who is having to deal with students, faculty, and parents, driving them in all different directions. And how do they, manage these conversations? It's for the employee or the manager who's having to give a presentation in the boardroom, and you're having to deal with the politics and with everything that comes with it. So how do you shape these conversations with people that leave you to be the most confident, credible, and calm person that you can be?
Sounds like anyone who deals with people should get this book. Yeah, that's pretty much
but
it.
Mostly it's for difficult conversations, like for the arguments, the hard stuff.
I love it, man. And I can't imagine there's anyone following me who doesn't follow you, but for those who don't know, where can they find more of you?
They can find me on Instagram at Jefferson Fisher, or really anywhere at Jefferson Fisher. And if anybody needs a personal injury attorney, you can also find me at Jefferson Fisher.
And what's the name of the firm in case someone needs an attorney? Fisher Firm.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Jefferson, thank you so much for coming on the show. Truly a joy having you. Loved every minute of this talk. You be well, my friend. Okay.
You too, brother.